So, India's tax landscape, it's about to get a pretty big shakeup. The government has just dropped its draft income tax rules for 2026. And believe me, the changes they're proposing could touch everything from how your employee perks are valued to how major global companies get taxed right here. So let's dive in and break down exactly what you need to know.
Right, so what's the big deal? I mean, what's this actually going to mean for you? It doesn't matter if you're a salaried employee, an investor, or you're running a business. There are some really important changes coming down the pike.
All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the big picture, then zoom in on the nitty-gritty. We're going to look at how employee perks are valued, what's changing for businesses that operate in India, and the new compliance rules for investors. And most importantly, we'll tie it all together so you can see what it means for you.
Okay, so when you really boil it down, this whole proposal seems to focus on two main things. First, there's a pretty fundamental shift in how value is calculated for everything from company shares to employee benefits. And second, there's a big push for tighter compliance, drawing new economic lines in the sand for businesses and financial markets.
Let's kick things off with something that hits close to home for most salaried folks: how your employee perks are valued. This is all about putting a hard number on those benefits you get that aren't part of your regular paycheck. So, what on earth is a perquisite? Honestly, just think of it as a perk. It's any benefit your employer gives you that isn't cold hard cash. Like a place to live or a car to drive. The tax rules have to figure out how to assign a monetary value to these things, and that's exactly what's changing.
First up, let's talk shares. When you get shares from your company, their taxable value is based on something called fair market value, or FMV. And to get a more accurate number, the draft rules are rolling out a brand new formula specifically for listed shares.
And here it is, the new formula. It might look a little intense, but it's basically this. You take the company's market cap, add its debts, what they call book liabilities, and then divide all that by the total number of shares out there. The goal here is just to get a more complete, realistic value for each share.
All right, now for a really big one: company housing. The way they calculate the taxable value of this perk is getting a facelift. And the key thing to know, it's all going to be based on how many people live in your city, using the 2011 census data, believe it or not.
So check this out. If you're in a huge city, over 40 lakh people, that perk is valued at 10% of your salary. For a medium-sized city, say between 15 and 40 lakh, it drops to 7.5%. And for pretty much everywhere else, it's just 5%. So it's really trying to tailor that value to where you actually live.
And it's not just housing. The rules for company cars are getting clearer too. If your employer gives you a car, its taxable value isn't just some random number. It actually depends on a couple of key things.
It really boils down to two simple questions. First, what's the engine size? Is it over or under 1.6 liters? And second, how are you using it? That mix between work and personal use is going to directly affect what you owe.
Okay, let's switch gears. We've talked about individual perks. Now let's look at the new rules for businesses. And a huge part of this is aimed at non-resident companies, basically trying to answer a simple question. When does a foreign company have a big enough footprint in India to be taxed here?
This all revolves around a concept called significant economic presence, or SEP. You can think of it as a new framework to figure out, especially for digital companies, at what point they're doing enough business in India that they should be paying Indian taxes. And the draft rules get super specific. They've put a clear number on it. If a company that isn't based in India has transactions with people here that add up to more than 2 crore rupees in a year, well, that's it. They have a significant economic presence.
But wait, it's not just about the money. There's another trigger. If that same company is systematically interacting with more than 3 lakh users in India, that also counts. And it's an either-or situation. Hit just one of those thresholds, and the rule kicks in.
All right, last big area here. Let's get into the new compliance rules. This is all about tightening things up and setting higher standards for certain financial products, and for the big players, like our stock exchanges. So let's start with something called zero coupon bonds, or ZCBs. These are a bit different. They don't pay regular interest. Instead, you buy them at a huge discount and get the full face value later. The new rules are making it a lot tougher for a bond to even qualify as a ZCB. And there are two big conditions that are non-negotiable. First, the bond has to have a lifespan somewhere between 10 and 20 years. Second, it's got to be financially solid. We're talking at least 2 separate investment-grade credit ratings, no exceptions. And finally, let's talk about the markets themselves.
Recognized stock exchanges are now getting a new task. They have to keep a complete, detailed audit trail of every single transaction. This is a huge push for more transparency and accountability.
And they've put a time frame on it, too. These complete audit trails, they have to be kept on file for a full 7 years. That creates a long-term, verifiable paper trail of everything that happens in the market.
Okay, so we've gone through a lot of detail. What does this all boil down to? Let's do a quick recap of what these draft rules really mean for everyone involved.
For employees, the taxable value of your perks, especially that company house, might change. For businesses based abroad, there are now crystal clear lines for when they'll be taxed in India. For you investors, things like zero coupon bonds are getting stricter rules. And for the exchanges, well, compliance just got a whole lot tighter with that 7-year audit trail rule.
You know, there's that famous Benjamin Franklin quote, "Nothing is certain except death and taxes." And while taxes are for sure a certainty, these rules really show us that how they're calculated is always changing, always evolving. And that really leaves us with one big question. We have to remember these are just draft rules for now. As we head towards 2026, is this push for more detail and precision actually going to make India's tax system clearer for everyone? Or is it just going to add a whole new set of challenges for us all to figure out?